everybody. Welcome to, this is a podcast called Mission Stories. This is a podcast where we're going to tell stories from our LDS missions. It's the only podcast on the internet that does that as far as I'm aware of. I've done little to no research on this matter, though. My what are we? Are you going to be a co-host? I need a commitment from you, or are you just a guest today? I don't know. What are you?
I'm just a guy doing a podcast.
Okay, you're just whatever. Are you looking up if other people have?
Yeah, I think
that's
part of my job here. It's like
okay,
Mormon Missionary Stories Podcast.com.
Lame.
Oh, see, these are compelling stories of hope, faith, adventure, and miracles. Things we will never discuss.
No, this is that's important to note, is that these are funny stories from our missions. We'll have guests on. I just think missions are a very ripe field for funny stories, and so that's what we're gonna talk about. But another part of this episode, or I don't know, is determining what this is gonna be. Segment ideas, story topics in the church news. Is this just like a Mormon-centric? Can we talk about other things too?
I think that'll just naturally come up.
Like ASMR.
Yeah, that is what we were discussing beforehand.
Right before. What is ASMR? I just want to I don't know. What does it stand for?
I don't know what it stands for. If I had the fidget spinner, I'd spin it into the mic again.
You just know that it's wrong in the eyes of God, that's all.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what it's about. If it's relaxing or if it's sexual.
People talking into a microphone very softly. You probably can't hear this as well, but I'm, when I talk like this, it's right in your ear. I don't know. It's kind of nice.
I just know, there was the video of the lady eating pickles right into the mic.
That seems awful.
Yeah. I mean, I only watched it 80 times, but...
I watched it 45 times this morning.
Just to get me going.
For what?
Get me out of bed.
Get me out of bed. I had a restless sleep last night.
Story of, I got a wedding invitation from a guy I taught.
Oh. And what
he's my famous ticket to heaven, where we committed him to be baptized the first time we taught him, and he immediately went on a mission, and I was like, every single person he baptizes counts for me, because I brought him into the church.
Like a multi-level marketing scenario.
Well, I don't remember the scripture in D&C where it's
There's a scripture about multi-level marketing.
You know, the one where it's how great is the glory if you bring one soul?
Yeah.
And how great more if you bring more? Well, it's I brought in that one, who then brought in even more out in Colorado. And then, so it was doubling my efforts.
It's exponential. Do you think that's...
So I think I got a lot of blessings coming my way.
Do you think that's God's that's his whole thing? It's just exponential growth through all of us,
Of course. You think it's an accident all those multi-level marketing corporations are based out of Salt Lake?
I don't. Now I don't think that.
Not at all.
He's planted that idea. We were talking yesterday about the changes. The church changes. I think that would be interesting to discuss. And maybe that can be a future segment. It's just in the news. Of course, I don't know how much news. Obviously, General Conference and a new prophet. That's a big. So maybe I don't know if will this dry up over time? Will we have enough content to satisfy our ravenous listeners?
What would the segment be called? How President Nelson is ruining and making the church greater? I don't know.
He's making the church great again. Little Trump reference for you. Yeah, sure. Let's call it that. So, no more home teaching. Once a year, you gotta wink at whoever you home taught before in the hallways at church.
Wink and a smile.
A wink and a smile, a handshake, a slap on the back, And they measure those metrics now, if I'm not mistaken.
That's the opposite of the truth. There's like nothing being measured anymore.
They don't even care anymore.
Just a quarterly interview.
Like they sit you down?
Yeah. You minister to people.
Okay.
And every 3 months, your elders quorum president will be like, how are those people you minister to? And you'll be like, they're doing great. He's not asking. He's not asking like, oh, did you see them at least once a month? I mean, he might ask.
He's asking. There's no metric. There's no requirement for what we have to do now. He's basically like he's taking what people are doing now and just turning it into the standard. It sounds like, which is not doing your home teaching. Like
they recently changed it to. Whether like if you shoot them a text, if you talk to them, if you did anything,
right,
counts as home teacher. I remember that was the big push they gave to me to make me a 100% home teacher. They're like, Lyndon, do you at least talk to them? And I'm like, I do. And they're like, well, then you home taught them.
Yeah, home taught them.
And I was like, perfect.
You can be like, did you think about them once in the last 3 months? And then if you're really...
Well, that's the beauty of it.
You're like, yeah, I did.
There's nothing to count anymore.
This is insane, and I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know.
This is why we're not in positions of where we have to deal with this.
This is why you're not the prophet, and I'm not the prophet's friend.
This is why I'm not the elders quorum president.
This is why, because I can't see the future. I'm not a future teller. Okay, that was... It is crazy. That's such an interesting topic all on its own. Just the rise of like conference shouters. You know, and like I remember the first time that happened, my blood was boiling. Like I was very mad because it was like, do you sustain? I think it was President Monson, and someone was like, no. And I was like ready to slit someone's throat. Like I was so angry at that.
I mean, very impolite.
At the very least.
At the very least, like, excuse me?
Yeah, he should have been like, sorry, what? Who said that? And then like had a sort of a petty talk with him right there.
Right then. Well, I think at that point there was several, or maybe the first one was just one guy.
Maybe.
Which emboldened the rest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been every single time since that point, if I do remember correctly. I don't think there's been a conference since then where someone hasn't shouted something.
Yeah.
But how do you think that guy or that woman feels like right before? They're just like waiting for that moment. They're just like, just adrenaline pumping, sweating.
Because you never know.
Just
That's like...
wait for it. Or is it?
Did they? I don't even remember if they even asked if anyone. What's the word they use?
Sustained.
They're like,
or any opposed.
I don't think they said any opposed. I think they said, if there are any opposed, talk to your stake leaders.
Oh, was that this past time?
Yeah. So when they're doing the sustainings,
they don't even invite.
They don't even invite people to yell. So I think they took the opportunity to yell when the new general authorities were coming.
Okay. That's so funny that would stop them, you know, that would be enough to stop the sort of person who would do such a thing. You know, like, all right, I can't wait for, he's going to do a call response sort of thing. Lyndon's opening a bottle of Diet Coke right now, drinking into the mic. You can hear it very clearly. But yeah, these guys they're interesting. So he is it? Have you ever heard a woman do it, or is it strictly like the purview of males? Just like no.
But I think nay.
No, I disagree.
I think when there was like the group, when at least 5 people.
Yeah, that's true. It's all
because it was the whole. The first thing they started protesting was women in the priesthood.
Was that this time or
that's when it started back in like, what was it, 2015, 2014?
Yeah, I remember that. And then they had like women praying too. That's when women could pray.
Yeah. And they're like,
women never prayed before then.
well, they did,
did
just
they?
not in general conference. Before that day, women had never spoken to God.
It was quite a remarkable point in history when women started to pray. It was incredible. Yeah, no.
Open the windows of heaven, really.
That's right.
Which I think is one of those things where like, oh yeah, that's odd. We never have any of the women give opening and closing prayers.
Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, sure, yeah, obviously, let's do that.
They're like, yeah, we kind of dropped the ball on that. We've been like doing it the same way for like 100 years. Maybe we should allow some prayers. We're we're a pro Mormon Church podcast, okay? We're just discussing the issues. I don't want to get excommunicated, Lyndon, just because.
I think we're far away from that.
Well, look at John DeLynn. He started.
See, I don't even know who John DeLynn is.
Oh no! You're like, he doesn't belong to the church. I don't know who you're talking about, Troy.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
Yeah, obviously I know who John DeLynn is.
Yeah, he got excommunicated for running a. He was very specifically, anti-Mormon by the end, though.
We laugh, we joke.
I
think he was like dead serious.
He was dead serious. Yeah, he totally was. That's presuming that anyone is going to listen to this at all besides you and myself.
I predict at least 7 views.
For this first one,
Oh no, in total.
You're like, oh no, I'm far less optimistic. Total.
Like we're gonna have 7 episodes that each get 1 view apiece.
Yeah, we're gonna be undaunted by the 1 view on each episode. All right, I feel like we should.
You're filled in on general.
I'm pretty filled in. Is there anything else?
Well, I mean,
I need to go back and watch it?
I mean, it was pretty historic. I mean, we just love President Nelson and his reactions to just dropping bombs and stuff. Where they're like, we're going to have a few moments for President Nelson to speak. He just gets up there and he's just like, ho, 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 ho. He's like, high priest group is gone.
What was the reaction like? Were people like, no way, no way? Were people like, yes?
Oh, well, I think it was pretty silent in the conference center. They were just listening with intent. My Snapchat was blowing up. My father texted me. He made a joke. What did my father made a joke that he said a high priest group member is going to get pulled out of elders quorum for dying or something.
I don't understand.
I'm trying to tell this dad joke and just. What was he saying? He's like, what's the joke? Hold on. We're gonna get there.
Lyndon is now thinking of what the joke was that his father told to him through text message.
I mean, I could go back. It's basically like a high priest group member dies in priesthood meeting. And so they get a bunch of dudes to drag him out, but it took them 5 tries because they couldn't find the right one. There was
5 candidates they thought were could be dead.
Yeah, there's 5 guys they thought might have died in elders quorum.
So they kept.
Took them 5 tries to get the right one.
How would they have known? I love dissecting this joke right now. How would they have known? So they were like, someone in this room is dead. Who could it be? It's like a game of Clue.
Brother Jones has passed. We need some brethren to remove him from the building. And so they're
throw him into the dumpster
to
out back.
Gracefully remove his corpse from priesthood meeting with decorum and dignity. And they accidentally grab Brother Williams, but Brother Williams hasn't died yet. It just looks like he has,
and he doesn't oppose to the removal.
Just allows it.
He's just like, I'm gonna pretend I'm dead. Then they won't ask me to do things anymore.
The real punchline is that my dad had been holding on to this joke for such an occasion.
He was just waiting. He's like, when they amalgamate the quorums.
He's like, when high priest group becomes topical again. I'm gonna drop this joke about how they're old and sleeping and look dead. All right, were we gonna tell a mission story?
We wonder what to do next. Yeah, let's tell a mission story. Let's try it out. But we found this little 9-year-old girl, and she her mom wanted her to get baptized. So Sally, I should not say her name. I'll beep that out afterwards. We'll call her Jane. Jane was the little girl. So she finally, like, we teach her everything, and we get to the day, and it's time to fill up the font, and the font water is so cold. Like, we can't get it warm. Like, everything
won't heat up.
It will not heat up. It's like ice cold. And I'm just like, I'm in the gym shooting.
Was the church tied into like a glacier spring in Georgia or something?
Yeah, all the glaciers in Georgia. It was just runoff water. I don't know what it was. It was just so cold the heater just wouldn't work, which is so strange because Georgia's such a hot place. So I'm just in the gym shooting hoops while my companion's sort of like managing the filling of the font. And he comes in like a panic, and he's like, Elder Cooper, the water's a little cold. And I'm just like, well, what's the problem? And he's just like, well, the heat doesn't work. And so this was like, I don't know, 45, like to an hour before the baptism was going to start. And also, I totally forgot about this. It was like the water level, it was taking so much longer to fill the font than we thought, because it was like it was so low to the ground. And it was so cold. The water was so cold and so low, and we could only get it like so. I think it was just up to like, I mean, it was enough for a 9-year-old girl to get baptized in, but it wasn't enough. You know, it was going to be a problem, obviously. And so it's super cold. The water's low, and the baptism starts. Everything is going fine until we learn. Okay, so the baptism starts. Some background information. The guy that is going to baptize Jane, this little girl, he was a Vietnam veteran. Mm-hmm. He was in Vietnam. He had seen combat. He was sort of one of these hardened men. And so we begin the service, and we get to the part where she's going to get baptized. And now the guy, the Vietnam veteran, he is in the font, and it's not bothering him because he's tough as nails. But then Jane. It's so much funnier with her real name, I feel. Sally is her real name. You know what? I don't know. Fine, Sally. She comes down into the font. Her foot touches the ice cold water, and she immediately starts to cry. And she's like screaming and crying, and then her mom has to like come back there and be like, "Get in that font, Sally. Get in the font. Otherwise, you're not going to get your toy." And now it became clear that Sally was only getting baptized because she thought she was going to get a toy. And then Sally's like, no, please, I want the toy. And so now this is happening. We got like, and Sally just keeps repeating, I'm afraid. And over and over and over again. And the mom's like, you're not going to get the toy. And she's like, I'm scared. And
was the toy a euphemism for the celestial kingdom?
I hope it was. I think it was just literally a toy, though.
Okay. I just want to explore that.
You're not going to get the toy. Eternal life. You're not going to get it. So it's like things are starting to to ramp up here. And people are sort of like, and the font doors are open, I remember. And I'm in my suit, and then so we like, me and my companion like go up to the edge of the font. We're like, is everything okay? And then it's just like, I'm scared. You're not gonna get the toy. And then like as this is happening, the Vietnam veteran guy was just like, you're scared, Sally? You think you're scared? You don't think I was scared in the Khe Sung Valley? Going up the Da Nang River in Vietnam. I've been shot at, Sally. Oh, I just blew out the feedback. He's just like, I've been shot at. You don't think I was scared then? I was, but I just got through it. And now she's full bawling. She's in tears. Like he's done more to scare her than even the cold water. And so we're just like, not helping, man, not helping. And I don't know why, but we get the idea to get my companion in a white suit so that he can baptize her, I guess, or help with it.
Because he hadn't been to Vietnam.
He had not been to Vietnam, and he was maybe a little softer. So he gets into his whites, and as soon as he gets in the water, he's like, see, Sally? Everything's fine. And he's just like shivering immediately, like also not helping her to get in. And then it got to the point where it was just like, we just kept opening and closing the font, doors to be like, okay, we're ready now. Okay, open them. And then she'd be like, I can't do it. And we're just gonna close them real quick. And we did that a couple of times. And then there was like a lineup of people sort of like trying to come and offer their advice at the edge of the font. And have you ever seen Airplane?
Yes.
I think I've told you this, but there's this moment in Airplane where this woman is freaking out on the plane, and there's person after person coming up trying to like calm her down and like slap her, and then like the next person has like a, shakes her, and the next person, and like it goes back. And so that's what was happening here, is that there's like a line of people like trying to shake Sally into the font or trying to like coax her in, but she just would not do it. And ultimately, she was never baptized, or not that time. She might have been later. I don't know for sure, but she was not baptized that day. So we just called it. We were just like,
oh wow.
We just called it. We're like, everybody, Sally's too afraid to get baptized. We didn't say that, but I actually don't remember how that ended.
You're like, everyone go home.
Everybody go home. That's it. Maybe next time. And I just remember me and my companion were extremely distraught in the parking lot, and we're just like, what do we do now, And the mom of this little girl comes up to us, and she's like, hey, you guys want to go get some Mexican food? Just like nothing had happened. She was just like, you want Mexican food? And we're like, yeah, all right. And then cut to us inside the Mexican restaurant, just like sadly eating chips and salsa. And Sally acted like nothing had happened. But that was like the craziest baptism of my whole mission.
I wonder if Sally got that toy.
I don't know. I think she did get baptized a few transfers later. I remember like the next missionaries were like, we were able to get it done, which I don't think it would have been that hard to do. I think it would have just required filling the font up, because she would have had to like lay down in ice cold water in order to go fully under the water. So we really botched that baptism, but
yeah, that is one of my favorite, because what you're describing, it sounds like you had the cold water on full tilt and the hot water on full tilt.
Yeah.
But the hot water system was not on.
Yeah.
So of course it filled up slowly because it was only half the water, and of course it was only the cold water.
You know what I think happened is that we just were doing the hot water, but even that wasn't that hot. So that's why it was so slow. And I think what we had to do is, in order to fill it up in time, is we just cranked the cold water with it. And so that when it finally got full enough, it was freezing cold.
Because I think every missionary in the history of baptisms has not started filling the font until it's at the threshold of everything has to be working perfectly for this to fill up on time.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we need a miracle in order.
It's like, if anything were to go wrong, the font would not be full on time.
The font would not be full. People would get hypothermia at the worst case scenario.
So I could tell a story of people that we baptized that we really shouldn't have. 9-year-old boy baptism.
How many people that you baptized do you think maybe shouldn't have been? Or like they weren't quite ready?
Hey man, they all passed their baptismal interview. So all of them. All of them were ready to enter through
Okay.
the straight and narrow gate.
Right. Okay.
Don't you dare.
Okay, never mind.
Except for this one.
Except for the story I'm about to tell.
Okay, so definitely one. His name escapes. Let me a little backstory. So, transferred up into the mountains of Arizona, and my mission brother, for those who are unaware, we were trained by the same missionary, which makes us brothers. We shared a father. Tuck and Roll Knowles.
Tuck and Roll Knowles.
He trained us both. And so this guy, I took over the area from him, and I think he had just trained, no, he just broken. I remember this because I was, besides a Catholic priest, I was also a normie. Because in our mission, your first companion is your trainer, your second companion is your breaker, because he breaks you of all the good and bad habits that your trainer gave you.
We were called Greenie Buster. Or like, yeah. I think that's your second companion was your Greenie Buster.
Right.
Yeah.
So we had a trainer, a breaker, and then your third companion was your normie. Your first normal companion. So even though you were a normal companion, you were a normal companion because you were a normie.
Right.
And so throughout the mission, I was like everyone's normie. They're like, you get a trainer, you get a breaker, then you get Elder Naglis. And so he had just finished breaking this elder, who was my companion, and he went on to become AP. And you know how he went on? You know how he became AP?
How?
Because he would go and tracked out the government housing projects for like the mentally ill.
No.
And so our area book, there was just the mountains of Arizona. There's just a little housing complex, like 6 units, just for the mentally unwell. Government subsidized housing. And so they're all just like...
That was just his bread and butter. He would just go there.
That's how he'd pump up the numbers. That's how he, garnered support for his run to the top. I mean, I'm not bitter or cynical about any of this.
Were you friends with this particular companion?
Yeah,
Wait, so
the guy who went AP or the guy who was my companion?
So your trainer was the one who went AP?
No.
Or the guy you were companions with?
My brother.
Your mission brother?
My mission brother.
Okay.
Who, he trained right after me. We actually split the area.
Okay.
And so he got trained in my own district.
Okay.
So my trainer was my district leader while I was getting broken.
Okay.
In an area that we split. Yeah.
Okay.
How about that for some context?
That's a lot.
So anyway, Mission Brother fills our area book up with investigators and potential investigators who are all not mentally all there. And my junior companion, he was all for it. He was like, we got this one guy on date for baptism. And he seemed all right. But that's because he was schizophrenic. And so he has good days,
right,
and then he has very bad days. And I was like, I don't know about this. But it's basically like, we got to schedule his baptismal interview for a good day.
Was it that? Could you plan it like that? Was that plannable?
Well, I don't know. You're missionaries. You're so good at what you do.
You're an expert.
It's
10,000 hours.
Yeah, it's like...
How far into your mission were you at this point?
Well, it was my second last area.
Okay.
So I was...
So you were an expert by Malcolm Gladwell standards.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was over a year. And I was like, I don't know about this. But I was also just like, because I was an expert, I knew I was just like, it looks real good on the weekly reports. People on date, baptisms. I was like, and who am I?
Baptisms look good on those numbers.
Yeah. Well, they do. And, souls into heaven, all that stuff. And I felt so bad because the ward, it was kind of, the mountains of Arizona are kind of tricky where it's like some real hillbilly people, like impoverished hillbilly type people.
Yeah.
And then really rich people with their second homes in the mountains. And
just side by side neighbors.
Well, they're kind of like, separated, one side of town, the other side of town. Oh, okay. But one of the wards sat right in the middle. So half the people were like very wealthy and they were there half the year in their vacation home.
Yeah.
And then the other half of the people were, living in government subsidized housing because they have schizophrenia. And the bishop hated us. He hated that we kept just bringing in, this riffraff of people.
Enough with the schizophrenics.
Would
guys.
not and could not contribute to the war. They just wanted, food boxes and stuff. And, but.
That's a funny side note just about, like, bishops who are tired of, like, getting people to care for. It's an interesting, like, because, like, the Atlanta ward in my mission was the same way. It was just, like, I think there was like 1,000 people on the records, like 200 people showed up just because of this. They would do it's kind of the exact same thing. It's just like anyone or anybody who wanted anything in the beginning would get baptized, and then I don't know, they'd get the Holy Ghost, and then the next week they were gone, and you never saw them again. Mm-hmm. But they're on the roster. Yeah. So I can understand. I see where that bishop is coming from.
Yeah. So in this case. And also this, like, a little apartment complex is, like, kitty corner to the church.
Yeah.
And so it's the day of his baptism, and he hasn't shown up. And so we drive to the apartment complex. We're knocking on his door, and we can hear him yelling and screaming at the ghosts in his head.
Oh, no.
And we're just like, this is not good. But then he finally opens the door, like he'd finally calmed down, and we could see he'd shaven his head. He was like, he'd shaven his head bald.
Yeah.
He's like, elders, what's up? We're like, it's your baptism, man, like 5 minutes ago. He's like, oh, right. And so he hops in the back of our truck, because we drove trucks up in the mountains. And we literally, I'm driving.
Like a hillbilly bumpkin truck?
Yeah. These little,
like a flatbed.
These little, like, Chevy Colorados.
He's like 1960.
And so... Yeah, he's
in the back of your truck.
Well, you're not allowed to drive people around in your truck, but we're like, we can throw him in the back like cargo. We're like, we just got it. And I'm driving the truck, and I'm just like, what am I doing? And I'm just like, we're just hauling this guy to the font. And we're like, we get there, we're like, Bishop, we found him. Yeah, he gets baptized. He goes to church, receives the Holy Ghost, gets his food order, never comes back again.
No.
And yeah.
Did anything weird? How was he in the water? Was he okay with the water?
Yeah, he was okay.
That's like a whole subgenre, I feel, of like baptism stories. Is like people who don't do water very well. Mm. They're afraid of it, or they can't put their head under, or. I heard the story once of someone who, like, they, like, go under... Or no, they were so enthusiastic as they were getting baptized. They kind of baptized themselves, and they whip themselves backwards into the font. The guy hits his head on the knob, or the nozzle where the water comes out. Goes into the water. I think he's bleeding a little bit. And then he comes up, and he's just like, boy, that hurt. And like, I feel clean or something like that. And then everybody is like, okay. And then like clapping.
Yeah.
So we can add that to our subgenre of stories. Mm-hmm. That was good though. So he was totally normal. Once he was at the baptism, he was just like cool as a cucumber.
Yeah. I mean, and that's not even the best of the guys we baptized in the mountains. I really wish I remembered his name. It escapes me at the moment, but he was one of the most memorable. He was, here's the thing, the bishop, as I say, he hated us for what he did. He also, he was a gem. We had like these. So this lady was a member of the church. Her boyfriend, not a member of the church.
Yeah.
They literally lived in the bishop's barn. Like the bishop had this like.
Was it a nice barn?
Well, yeah, it was basically like this fancy, mountain chalet that they own just to like rent out,
Yeah.
And there was like a barn attached to the property.
Uh-huh.
And it was great because he let them live in the barn. And he also let us store our bikes there because we didn't use our bikes because we had trucks in the mountains.
Right.
And this guy... so crazy. Like, he rode around town on his bike, and he had, like, a katana strapped to his bike. Because Arizona is, it's an open carry state.
For all sorts of weapons.
All weapons.
All weapons.
All weapons. So you can walk around with a sword on your back. That's fine.
Okay.
Or a sword strapped to your bike. And So I mean, he like lived in this barn, and rode around with a katana. He's trying to start up a landscaping business.
With his katana, he would just like hoe people's yards
Yeah,
with a
I mean, like
sword.
he was always so ambitious, and he had told us he's like it's going to be called curb appeal. Curb appeal.
Ooh.
And he would be
It's
like,
not a
he's
bad
like-
name.
Yeah, and we're like,
I like that.
He's like, curb appeal landscaping. He's like, I'm going to get that on the side of my truck, which he didn't have running at the time.
Yeah.
But I really liked his ambition and just living in the bishop's barn.
Living in a barn. He's got a sword. He rides up to people with, advertising pamphlets. Hey. And then he brandishes his sword. How would you like this? Driven deep into your soil.
Yeah.
And then
So I think his girlfriend would clean the rental chalet as payment for living in the bishop's barn. But he got baptized, and when he showed up to his baptism, he rolled up on his bike, and he's wearing like a black trench coat, fingerless gloves.
Oh no.
The like blue lensed gasoline, gas station sunglasses.
Yeah.
And he brings his katana with him to the baptism. And like everyone is just like,
Terrified.
their eyes are in their hands, just like shaking their heads.
Yeah.
And my companion and I are just like, we're taking pictures with him. We're like, get the sword out. He's like at his baptism posing with us with his sword.
Brandish the sword.
Just the trench coat thing. It was a great look.
That's awesome. I would love to see that picture.
We're a little worried that once he got baptized, the bishop was going to kick him out of the barn.
And then his ride situation would be compromised.
Oh yeah.
That's tough. That's so funny. I love it. Those are some great mission stories, I think.
I think so.
All right. Is there any other segments? We've been doing this for like an hour. I think this has been like an hour.
We've reached our time.
I think it's time.
So, I mean,
We didn't have any breaks for advertisers because we don't have any yet.
But we got to practice for when we do.
We got to practice. So who should we practice? That's a good idea. Let's practice. Who do we want to advertise on this podcast?
And now a word from Dollar Shave Club.
At Dollar Shave Club, they put the dollar in Shave Club. You get a free shaver in your mail every day for a year. $1.
There we go. That's
Thank you. There's Dollar Shave Club for sponsoring. Can you imagine that? They send out a thing, and that's what it is. And you're like, okay, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Put mission stories in to get a 50%
We got
off.
segment. We got stupid companion stories.
Stupid companion stories. Yeah, that's a good idea, just to sort of get what are the genres. I think off the top of my head, you got dog stories.
Oh yeah.
Dog stories. Stupid companion stories. Annoying companion stories. Tracting is like a whole subgenre. Crazy people you meet, I guess. Near death stories. Almost overtaken by Satan stories.
The extreme disease and illness that people get on the mission.
Yeah, oh yeah, getting really sick. Guns, I think for me anyway.
At least people who served in America.
Yeah,
Everyone has gun stories.
Stateside missions have a lot of gun stories. You know what? We should probably make an email. And I don't want to say what the email is yet, just because we haven't made it yet. And what if it's or what we could do is just do a drop in, where it's just email us at, and then
Yeah, we could have a segment. We read people's stories.
we could read stories. We should definitely have an email. We'll have an email soon, because we're gonna make more. And even if one person listens, we What's that scripture, Lyndon? If you only reach one podcast,
If
listener,
one soul listens to your podcast, how blessed you will be. How much more blessed
if
when
like
many more listen
hundreds
to your...
of thousands, pulling in those Joe Rogan listener numbers, man.
I like that. I can't wait to be like, Ammon from Vernon, Utah writes.
Yeah. That would be great. That would be so good. So many. All right, so I like those ideas for like genres. Any other like, just segments, things to discuss, ideas like that. Where are they now? I guess.
You didn't like that one. You thought that was too risky.
You know what? Let's do it. Screw it. Who cares? Let them sue us.
You can talk about,
Break.
which people on your mission got married to each other.
Ooh, yeah, marriage stories. Who got married first? How many people? Are you the last person that you know on your mission to get married?
Oh, shoot, no. I thought I had one of my companions, but he did just get married. I got to think, the other guy, I don't think he has Facebook. He was very much against it. I got to look into that.
Right. It's.
I
tough,
might be
though.
the last of my companions that's not married.
Most of them are probably from Utah, though. Am I right? Or
No.
Idaho, California.
I was blessed. The Lord knew that I could not handle being companions with anyone from Utah. Right. Never had a Utah companion.
Never had one.
I had one.
You never had a Utah companion?
I had one that was born in Utah, grew up in Alabama.
Okay, so not really a Utah.
But then they like went back to BYU. So they were pretty...
More of an Alabama companion.
They were a hybrid.
Okay.
But they weren't full-blown Utah. So I
A
had
Alabama.
Yeah. No Utah companions. A lot of companions from the South. Virginia.
Really?
A couple from Alabama. Florida.
That's interesting. It almost seems like because I was in the South, so it's like maybe they just like send each other's missionaries to like, you know, to like the upper, Midwest to like the southern states, and they just trade.
Yeah, I think still our mission, the majority of missionaries were from Utah, barely.
Yeah.
There was like one less missionary from Idaho.
Yeah.
And then Washington State and Canada were tied for third.
Wow. Yeah, I had mostly, it was like Utah, Idaho, California, Arizona, Canada. I had one Canadian companion. He was my mission rival. If he ever listens to this, it was good because we talked about it a lot as missionaries. But so anyway, any other thoughts? We'll follow up with that.
I can't wait for the great community feedback we get.
Yeah. Here's the thing. This is when this posts somewhere, it'll be after I figure out how to do it, because I don't know how to do it yet. So I think you're supposed to like and 5 stars, subscribe,
Leave a review.
It helps the algorithm, I think.
It also helps us.
It also helps us.
Our self-esteem.
So yeah, we like it too. If you hate it, say nothing.
Keep that to yourself, please.
We can't handle that. We are very genteel, and our egos are very fragile. All right, if you have any ideas for a segment, let us know in the email, which is themissionstoriespodcast@gmail.com. Again, all one word, themissionstoriespodcast@gmail.com. And we'll see you next time. Any closing remarks, Lyndon? You get the last word.
This has been fun. I hope we do it again.
Indeed. Goodbye, everybody.